Okay, so first of all, thanks for being here on my session. This session is powering up your Microsoft 365 game Advanced PowerShell and PnP, PowerShell Techniques and Hidden Gems. So again, thanks to our sponsors. Without them, we couldn't have this event. Okay. Okay, so who am I? My name is Rodrigo Pinto. I live in Lisbon, so I'm a Portuguese guy. I'm working on the Microsoft stack since 1998, so I'm that old. I do a lot of SharePoint and enterprise projects. Since the beginning, last year, I published a book. It's called Mastering SharePoint and Microsoft 365 Online, and I've been an MVP since 2011. Okay, yeah, and that's it. So the agenda for today. So one of the things I usually do this session with the developers, IT pros, and even business users across all the projects, clients, and even internally on the companies that I work with. And this will be the agenda. Let's start a baseline, PnP PowerShell, and let's go a little bit wild on advanced scenarios, okay? I try to avoid, I don't like, although it looks like I like a lot doing those fancy Marvel stuff, and I do, but I don't like slides. I prefer practical stuff, okay? So let's draw a baseline. And I already asked this question yesterday. Who uses source control on the PowerShell scriptings? Okay, that's good. The ones that I'm not using for any specific reason, you're not using, or you don't need it, we're just testing, just to know. Because one of the things is, anytime somebody talks about scripting, every and each one of the new clients that I have, like, oh, it's just scripting. It's not just scripting. It's source code. It's script, but it's still source code. You still need to start them on a specific place. If something happens to your machine, if something happens to where the script is running, you need to have actually the history and need to have that thing actually stored somewhere. Okay. Another thing also, and it's for me, it's a little bit of a surprising. Most of the companies, or most of the clients, probably I'm choosing the not the right clients, but most of them don't even know that we can build PowerShell repositories repos. Okay, and basically the idea with a repo, it's not that you don't need it, but across all the history of a company, all the history of a service, all the history of IT, even on the developer side, there's a lot of scripts being created and being dumped somewhere, right? So if step by step, the teams can create like a repo with your own PowerShell scripting, instead of just creating the scripts itself. You can actually have models and a specific repo for the PowerShell part. Okay, and it's easy as you can have like a file server with a repo there. You just register the repo there, and you can use whatever you need. This is not new, right? For you guys, is it? Huh? Okay. Another one also is the PowerShell editors. So since the beginning, there was the ISE from Microsoft, and there was a couple of them, Visual Studio and all these kind of things. For me, right now, the one that emerged from me and all the other ones is the Visual Studio Code. And I think most of you guys are using that thing also. Is there anyone using something different? No? Good. Okay, I'm explaining why, because if on Visual Code you have a lot of other extensions and add-ons, and everybody's supporting that editor, so the extensibility is wider than the other ones. I still have clients that don't use it, that uses the IBM ones and uses the Java ones to do PowerShell script, but whatever rows your boat, yeah, they can do whatever they need if it's aligned with the company policies and you're comfortable with it. Okay. Okay, now the dreadful thing. And I will ask again, who uses PowerShell 5.1? Okay, so the PowerShell 5.1, it's still supported within the PnP PowerShell. It's supported till a specific version on the 5.1. Okay, and that version is the 1.12. Okay, that you actually can work with the 5.1. Why? Because one of the things that Microsoft did was actually they end the support of the .NET framework somewhere in time. I think it's in December 2022, and because the new since the version 2 something forward on the PnP PowerShell is using .NET Core. So .NET Core is a completely different technological stack from the .NET framework. Okay, and that this version, the 1.12, only works on the 5.1 because it's built with the .NET framework. PnP PowerShell 2 forward is using the .NET Core, and that's the reason it doesn't work. Okay. Now another thing that happened, and actually I had a conversation with some of the guys yesterday because of this. The new PnP PowerShell only works on 7.4. It's 7.4 right now, 7.4.6 when it was released. One thing that was kind of interesting yesterday, I did a session on the Azure Runbooks. In the Azure Runbooks, the baseline of the runbooks are 7.2, and you can't have the 7.4 from Microsoft unless you do some tweaking with the runtime environments. And actually yesterday there was a couple of, because I posted the photos from here from the session, I had a couple of back and forth from some of the colleagues and some guys on Microsoft that actually saying, look, 2 weeks ago we actually did a build on the PnP PowerShell that works for 7.4. And it's, that's kind of cool, but we cannot put it to work on the runbooks. What's the reason? Because the runtime from Microsoft again had issues. So so we're actually looking into to see what's the regarding the runbooks. What's the solution for that one? So the new version from 3 forward only works with PowerShell 7.4. Okay, 7.4 exactly, 7.4 since 2 weeks ago. And that's it. Everybody is aware of this kind of things, or it's kind of more or less, right? You try by try and mistake and to see what works. You actually see what's wrong with what's not. So one of the things that I usually do, and I didn't put here all of the examples that you see here because most of them are straightforward. We're among PowerShell developers, IT pros, so they actually know what it is. So whenever the first cool features that we have there, whenever you load a PowerShell session, it's upon the system app domain, right? That's why whenever you're in 5.1, you do like connect PnP PowerShell, you see all the stack of the .NET framework raising up, and that's the app domain that actually uses. That's why one of the reasons that you can't mix between versions, because the stack is completely different. Okay. Another thing that usually happens whenever you use PnP PowerShell and functions locally, and even on runbooks or other things, is the way that the PnP PowerShell is compiled is using assemblies that sometimes conflicts with the ones that Microsoft uses. And basically it happens a lot with the Azure Cmdlets. Okay. So one of the things that we usually do, we start thread job, and it's completely a different thread with a different app domain with the different assemblies being loaded. So that's a way that you can actually overcome that part. The part with the credentials, most of you guys, if you already know what PnP PowerShell is, you have different ways of storing credentials. You have the credential manager in Windows. You can store a credential on an XML file encrypted, right? And then I'm going to show you the other examples, because it's easier than just talking. Is this interesting or not? Yeah, well, that's right. And just the guy just talking, and what the hell is that? So one of the things actually I have on this demo I usually do for it's not for the PowerShell gurus or IT pros or devs, for the beginning of the guys. So I have a bunch of examples, why it's useful, the PowerShell for this kind of things. But one of the things that actually the devs and the IT pros actually asked me are the classes one. Anyone is familiar of the classes on PowerShell? More or less. Okay, that's actually cool, because one of the things. So one thing that I do with the classes is like this. Classes is cool, and anything new that you learn, it's cool, but don't use for everything. You just learn one thing and just, hey, let's use it for everything. And the classes itself, you can mimic what we can do in C#. You can have like a class, and you can have inherents. I'll show you here one that's part of a project that we call the PnP Candies. And it's actually a community effort initiative. And basically, remember, for the ones old enough to remember the SharePoint, SharePoint has a thing called features. We go to the site settings and you activate and deactivate the features. And basically we build something in PowerShell on the top, on that concept. So you can publish a feature, you can activate and deactivate. And here, what you see here, it's actually a class. Let me just clear this thing up. We can actually have a class here, and basically you actually declare the class like this, class, and then you have the attributes. You can actually have hidden properties, and then you have methods, okay? So we use this for specific configurations on specific software, nothing new here. One thing interesting is actually you can define abstract methods. You see here, I have a method that's throwing must override method on the class. So this is the base feature class, and I have the base feature here. If I run this and I try to run deactivate, I will supposed to have must override the method. So it's enforcing me to actually have a method there on this one, on the child one. Okay, if I do this, it will work. Okay, just a little bit of a caveat on this kind of things. We usually use the classes to do configurations. Okay, the problem with the classes is you can only import the class at the first line of your script. That's the first thing. And second, the class will remain active until you disconnect the session. You broke the session, or you just restart the session, on these kind of things. And it's kind of, it can be kind of cool, but it can be a little bit of annoying whenever you're developing something. So whenever you're developing something on class, usually you put something here, like dump everything at least on the same file, and then afterwards, if everything is okay, we start separating the concerns on this thing. Okay, now let's go to the. Okay, so here I have my own site, and the idea is to show you the batch command on PnP.PowerShell. What is this? So if I do this, what this code is doing is actually reading a CSV file, and getting old. Where's the CSV? Here. It's reading the CSV file, and I think it's only the first elements, and it's adding to a list. Let me just close this. It's adding to a list. Okay, so one of the things, sorry, not this one, this one. One of the things that usually we do whenever you do PnP.PowerShell is like we're adding an element to a list. So you need to define the fields that you're updating and the values that you were updating. One of the things that we actually did was we load the CSV into an array, right? And then we actually transform the array, create an hash table through the array. So our code to add lists are like this. This is an hash table. And it's easy because as long as you have the CSV with the same fields that you have on the list, it's straightforward. In this case, title, city, identity, and team. Okay? And if I go here, let me just open. Let me just delete this thing. Okay. If I go here and I'll do this thing first. So the array is it's the first tip. Another tip also that I showed you on the other session was here I have the connect PnP online with manage identity, right? And it's kind of how can I debug this thing within my local machine, right? Because it shouldn't work. If I go here and if this thing is loaded properly, let me see. So I have my own custom module that's wrapping the connect PnP online. That allows me to actually grab a script that's on Azure or on Amazon or whatever, IBM or whatever, and actually have the wrapper itself just says URL and manage identity. For me, I can debug it here because I'm actually forcing the command to have whatever I needed here, the thumbprint, and it's returning the connection itself. And the way I do that is, let me just stop this. Open recent. Oh, Jesus, not here. Just 1 second. The way that I do this is I build a module that I loaded at the beginning, and I do a wrapper like this. Where is the? Give me just 1 second. Let me do it again because there's something is missing here. 5. Oh. This one is, yeah, exactly. It's here. And I'm getting old. You see, this is the way that we can actually overcome. So I'm overcoming the if it's present, I'm overcoming and stating like the connect PnP online is the one from this module, but you should read my own environment, my own variables. Okay, it's a wrapper on top of that. It's nothing fancy, but it's kind of cool to do this kind of things. Okay, so this is the connect first tip. The second tip that I have here, it's actually, Jesus Christ, keep switching to this change, and I keep switching my speech. So the second is the array to an hash table. Let me just do the F5 and see this thing working. 1 of 20. See how long, I think like 10 seconds or something, no? So it took 10 seconds, 20 items, okay? The batch itself, the new one that I'm about to show you, it's actually a commandlet called new PnP batch. And basically the difference here is when you do the @PnP list item regularly, like the usual stuff, what it does, it's the command itself what sends instructions to the cloud one by one. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The PnP batch, what it does is grabs everything on one request and sends only once. It's kind of cool. The commandlets that have this is the related list items commands: add list items, set list items, remove list items, and the ones actually addressed with syntax models and all these kind of things. Okay, if I execute this, 0 seconds. You see the difference? It's kind of interesting whenever you do manipulation of data. At least I think it's interesting. Yes, yeah, and it's quite quick whenever you have to process a lot of information or doing integrations. Basically, I do a lot of integrations between other systems and SharePoint. Sometimes it's like import export. Sometimes it's a little bit more further than that. Another thing that usually happens, and this is one of the things I hate on the users, is whenever they create a list or a document library, they put it like they're writing an essay, like I don't know, like a list of assets, and they put spaces and they put all these kind of things. And one of the things that we usually do, if we need to actually optimize everything that we do, they can actually put the name that they want afterwards, but the internal name should be with no special characters. And with no spaces and all this kind of thing. So we do that, and then but you just change we can change the caption for the text itself or whatever you want, but the internal name should be clean. How can you do that thing problematically? Is doing like this. So you do you change I have a list or a document library. I think it's a list called Marvel Heroes. Yeah, not found. Let me see. So the old name is with a space, the other name is without the space. Nothing fancy. So you actually here are changing the real name to the other one, so it should be available right now. Yeah. Okay. Next. Next is the field creation. How do you usually create assets with PnP and SharePoint? Do you use the templates, the PnP XML templates, or you use something different, or you don't use it? You just created things directly in the site. Yeah, don't rush. Usually, so let me explain in a bit of way. Whenever we do a project, it doesn't matter if it's a developer or IT pro, one of the rules that we have on our teams is whenever you're provisioning something, that something being provisioned cannot be provisioned manually. It needs to be automated. By being automated, you should have scripts that create the assets, the sites, the lists, document libraries, all these kind of things through code or through the PnP templates. Everybody knows what PnP templates are? No. Okay, so PnP templates is like a definition XML that defines you a site. So two techniques that you can actually reuse is you build your site manually, and then you point using PnP.PowerShell. You do like get PnP template, and that thing goes to the site and grabs every definition that you have within the site. When I say definition, is the language, the site name, the structure, document libraries, the pages. Okay, the only thing that it doesn't do completely is the content itself, but all kind of configurations can be stored on XML on an XML file. Okay, afterwards you can grab that file and you use PnP again, connect to the site. The site is already created. Apply this template, and then you have the entire template created. And that thing can be done site by site, tenant by tenant. You can have definitions for teams. If you want to create a team with that definition, it works. Sometimes the problem with that is you have changes on a Microsoft side and not even on the PnP that breaks that schema. And usually what you do is you do the initial one with an XML with the PnP invoke templates, and you do the remaining ones probably with code like on the old way. And what we see here, it's just an example, adding a field through XML. So for the ones that are messing around with SharePoint as long as I did, this was the way that we did it in the past. Pure XML, rough stuff. It's not ugly, but it works. It's not ugly, it's not pretty, but it works. That's the point. So you can do like this. At PnP field from XML, you can actually change or migrate or change the type. So if you have a field in SharePoint that's a text field and you want to change it to a choice or to a supported state, if it's like a text something like a choice, you can do it through the set PnP field itself. Okay, I'm going to run this. Yeah, what it does, it actually adds a field here. Or not? Should add. Oh, actually it didn't. Oh, it's here. It added, but it didn't add it to the view itself. Yeah, okay, no problem. Okay, so this is just a small tricks. Now, one of the things that probably you're not aware, one of the most powerful features within the PnP is the invoke REST method and invoke the PnP graph method. What does it do? So you do the first connection, and then it is like you can actually reuse the REST API from SharePoint, and it's interesting, yeah. And what's the thing with this? So it's kind of cool, right? You can go REST APIs and all of these kind of things, right? Now, if you look at the browser, whenever you do something on Office 365, any request that you do, it's a web request, right? Now, one of the things that happens a lot with me is Microsoft changes stuff. Microsoft breaks supports on a couple of old stuff, and it doesn't work, right? And one of the first examples that I had was, here on the list itself. Is it on this one? Give me just 1 second. Just 1 second. Yeah, I'm heading on myself on what I'm doing here. One of the things is it's actually whenever you go here and hit the F12 and do a refresh, you have web requests, right? The web request is actually hitting an API that Microsoft has. Usually it's internal. You usually don't use it because it's not supported, more or less. Usually that request has a bare token, okay, and has a couple of other fields that you can reuse. Now, anything that you can do in the browser, you can mimic in the PowerShell, okay? Repeat again with me. Anything that you can do with the browser, you can do it on the PowerShell. When I say anything, I say anything. You can grab requests from Office 365. You can grab requests from Teams. You can create channels just by monitoring whatever is the request that you are doing without using any API, just web requests, as long as you have the URL of the request, the body, and the token. Okay? And Microsoft itself has tokens for everything, as you may notice, right? With this, actually, whenever you do, I think the most common command that I have here, I usually use is this one, get PnP access token. Or not. Yeah, sorry. Connection. Okay. And this is you can actually grab this and just do a web request to a specific endpoint on Office 365, in this case, on SharePoint, even on Teams. If you grab the graph, you can do a lot of other stuff, and it basically can mimic everything. Grabbing that information, and this is kind of cool. One of the things that Microsoft has on the Power Platform is a connector that grabs you a PDF and converts to grabs a document and converts to a PDF. Okay, and that they actually charge for that. If I told you that the service that does that is free and it's available for everyone to use, as long as you respect the size of the file, okay? And how do we figure out that thing? One of the clients that we had, he used to I cannot say the name of the client. He used to have a service that was converting like a bunch of documents and images to PDF, and that thing the money was too high every year. So they asked us to actually look into a way to doing that thing without paying that much. One of the things we first tried to build a Word to PDF converter manually, like with the expose and all these kind of things. It worked, but it didn't work that well. It was not that actually expandable or scalable. One thing that we noticed was most Microsoft they grabbed the service, the SharePoint servers, and put it on the cloud, they had two concerns there. One is the current on-prem, some of the things that works on-prem needs to work on the cloud. So the legacy mechanism that they have were migrated directly as they are. When they did that, there's a method called render list data as stream. And render list data as stream exists in SharePoint since the version of 2003. It's like a wrapper, an API built in C# that grabs an element and converts the element to specific things. Okay? In this case, what you see here is we're grabbing the document. Let me just put this on the document library, documents. I'm grabbing these two files, okay? And in this case, I'm going to convert. It's already here. Let me just delete this, or else I'm subverting the system. Okay. And now goes to this one, F5. This is the PDF. It's a simple one, right? And this is the Word. Without you doing anything, you can actually do this. And it's even if we actually had to debug and try to understand what's going on this thing. But one of the things that you can do, you can go here on the Word or whatever, capture the F12, just hit the F12, go to the network, and you will have all of the requests that this thing is doing. Okay, one thing very cool. It's actually this is my stuff. One thing that actually it's very cool. You can actually see even the metrics that Microsoft is stating whenever you do any action, and it's exposed here. So you can grab here, and actually let me just do like an example on one of the requests. I don't know. You can do like this. Copy as PowerShell. Ta-da-na. It's easy peasy. Sometimes it's more difficult because of the what is the token that it's using. But nevertheless, if you have the connect PnP, just do connect PnP online. You get PnP access token, and you use that token to do the request. Okay. The same thing for emails. For any element as a file that exists, you can actually you can actually convert to PDFs and images out of the box. And this is an email. Sorry. This is this email. PDF. It's kind of cool, right? You don't need to do anything. You're just careful with the size of the files. Okay, because usually what they do if the file art is too big, they actually break the file in half and do the other stuff isolated. Okay, so another thing also, one of the things that actually annoys me is currently and right now you have a lot of workflow options, workflow assets to be within the PowerShell, within the Microsoft stacks, right? You have the Power Automate, you have this thing, rules, and all these kind of things. Let me just show you. Where is that? Here, doc organizer. So you go here, and you have this kind of create rule, right? And you can have rules imposed. Okay. And you have another one, the quick actions and all these kind of things. So one of the things that we actually did for one of the clients, they like this thing or compared with just using the Power Automate because it's more complicated. So is there any way that we can actually add the automation on this thing? Yes, we can do it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 using the same concept I was just mentioning. That is using the manage rules. You see? I didn't do anything manually, so you can actually replicate everything. So anything that you do here, and one of the things actually that triggered this since the beginning was we actually built a migration engine based on this concept. So Microsoft has a migration manager tool that actually can migrate on-premises data like files and all these kind of things. You install that agent on the servers, and that thing does the migration itself. We build a migration engine on top of that. That basically it mimics what you need to do manually on the admin center on the Microsoft side. You can do this slot goes to that part, this slot goes to that part, this slot goes to that part, and it works with the same concept. You have the token, you have the API REST method, and you can reuse. And this works for Microsoft and works for Azure, or works for anything that you actually can do. If you can grab the token and the API, you can actually mimic something that the Microsoft doesn't support, or at least doesn't have that availability within the assemblies that the PnP.PowerShell uses for doing the Cmdlets. We can extend, and that's the beauty of it. Okay. Okay, more advanced stuff. Now this is more related with the. Let me see if I have more. Yeah, it's the same thing. So one of the things here is, I've been in SharePoint since the beginning. One of the things that always the clients say is like SharePoint is like a database. And I said, no, it's not a database. It's a collaboration platform. No, it's a database. You can have like a list, and you can have another list, and it's like a integrity, one to many tables. And it's like, no, it's not, because you cannot enforce that part. Oh, but can we mimic at least, or do something like that? Can we create our own Cmdlets that actually forces to enforce that type of credibility on integrity on the data? And actually, you can do that. One of the things that actually, it shows a bad example. So I have the heroes, and again, I'm a Marvel freak, as you may already notice. Where's the heroes? Here. So let me just, is this the one? No, team. You see, I have a choice with 4 values: Avengers, Fantastic Four, X-Men, and Titans. Okay, if I do this in PowerShell, this add heroes M1 is at PnP list items. Will this team be added or not? For the ones that knows this. Dun, 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 dun. F5. Wow, it was added. How come it was added? So it's kind of weird, right? And this is it's by design. So one of the things that this is actually proves that a list doesn't have integrity with content that's inside or with other or table or other lists. Right? This is just a field, and the field here doesn't actually have that new. Doesn't actually have that new group here. So if there's any integrity being done here, the data shouldn't be go through on this one. So that this is a by default behavior from Microsoft. It's a wrong one, but it's still there, and it still exists since the earlier versions. So one of the things that we can do in PowerShell is actually, if you have your methods, and if you wanted to actually enforce those kind of things, we can actually define a validate set. And a validate set is you actually put the group of the values that thing admits, and it's kind of cool, right? If I'm going to do the new group again with this, I have this validate set. First thing that will happen will be you cannot add this value. You see, the argument new group does not belong to the set Vengeance, Fantastic, or none. Okay, so I have a protection on my code on this part. Okay, so it's kind of cool. But the problem there is, okay, in this case, validate set, I'm actually hard coding the values there, right? So if the values are actually there, what's the point of my code will not have hard coded values there, right? So we can actually create a validate set as a class, and that's why the reason I include the classes here, as a class to actually validate what are the values that you are supposed to add here in runtime. Okay, if I do this, team, if I do this and I put like I don't know, another group, X-Man, no, doesn't matter. New group. If I do this, where's the connection? Is the connection still there? Let me see if it works. Okay. Let me put the Avengers. Avengers should work. 5. Oh, what's wrong? Did it? Oh, did it? Jesus, mother of God. Hey, just 1 second. Yeah, I'm getting older. I'm not seeing these things properly. No, actually, it doesn't work. Why? Where's the connection? Connection. Oh, okay. So this, I know what it is. So let me try just one thing to see if it's working or not. No, it's not. So this actually is using, I actually didn't notice that it was not using the connection properly. Let me do like this, start. Because I was changing the scripts yesterday and I actually didn't do anything it's supposed to. Right. Just see if the connection is okay or not. Oh yeah. PnP web. Okay. Okay. So the Avengers, it did add the Avengers. Let me see again. Leave. Okay. Now I'm going to add another value here. I'm going to add Titans. What's another area? It doesn't. What? Imperfects. Yeah. Imperfects. Okay, it doesn't matter. You get my point, right? So if I go here and I do this one. Not on this one, it's still on the other one. Imperfects. And the same mistake. Imperfects. Let's see if it works. Imperfects. Okay. And if I do this, it's actually allowing me to add the imperfects in runtime. So it's validating the team itself, the choice here. Okay. And afterwards, one of the things that you can actually do is you can actually complete. So what I'm doing right now is actually read this thing. Where is the? I can actually go here and add the completer, and the completer is this thing. And actually go here on the parameters and put team. No, it's not working. Supposed to work. Give me just 1 second. Why isn't... No, that's not it. What I'm gonna do. F5. Okay. Jesus. Yeah. So basically, the idea here was to you could actually do the tab, and this works. I don't know what's happening here, but it works. It's the Copilot. I think it's doing something that shouldn't be doing. Team, because here you can actually have. You should have the values that you have there: Avengers, X-Men, and it's not actually working. I need to check what it is. You can have this kind of validations within your code. One of the things that we actually did for extending the PnP itself, it's actually we can do a completer for the lists. And let's see if this thing happens. This thing actually works. And if I do get PnP list. Jesus, control, man. Identity. No, not this one. Problem is I'm doing this thing for so long. It's the identity. Exactly, identity. And then you hit the tab, and it's basically in runtime is listing the list I have on my... the concept is the same. We have a completer that's actually connecting, is doing this thing, get PnP list on my tenant, and it's listing the list names here, corporate reports and whatever. Another thing that we did afterwards was actually you can actually add parameters to the existing one. That doesn't work. I don't know why. Jesus, dbg. Doesn't work. So one of the things that it doesn't matter. One of the things that you actually can do is you can extend the Cmdlets that exists within the PnP without doing any C# code. You can add parameters, remove. One of the things that we actually did in here, I'm going to check why it's not working. But one of the things that we actually did was we extended the get PnP list just to lists, to list document libraries or lists. You put like minus only document libraries or lists, and you can actually extend that part. Okay. I don't know if this was interesting or not. Probably I'm out of time as usual. Yes, I am. Yeah, and that's it. This is a little bit on the things that we do as a team, a tech lead. Sometimes things go right and or wrong, as you may see. My idea is to actually put this code inside of next to the presentation for you guys to take a look, and this thing will be working for sure. I'll check it out. Any questions? Oh, wow. Okay, thanks, guys. And that's it.